Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and tonight we're going to be covering the topic of negative numbers. But before we do, I'm probably one of the rare few YouTube personalities on the YouTube platform that will never go, "Oh, please, 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 please like my video. And if you would be ever so kind as to subscribe to my channel, which will cause all my videos to be shared all over the platform." Let me tell you something. That ain't going to work. And I'll tell you why. Because YouTube cannot determine what they need to determine, which is whether my videos are keeping you guys on their platform by the use of the like buttons and the subscribe buttons. Okay? Now, why do these people tell you this? Well, number one, it extends the watch time on their videos, which I'll tell you a little later why that would have an effect. But anyway, the other thing is that the like button itself, you could flip through things all day long, just go like. It's not going to tell YouTube anything, okay? Now, as for the subscribe button, that's a little different story. Have you noticed that when you hit the subscribe button now, this little menu pops up and it sets your bell notifications? There you go. That's why they're telling you that. Now, the bell notifications might tell YouTube something about how popular your channel is, and they might want to share your videos because of it. Okay? But what will cause YouTube to share your videos? Well, there are two things you can... Well, first of all, if people like you who are watching these videos right now were to copy the URL of the video and share it on a different social media platform like Facebook, what used to be Twitter, now is X, Gab, you got Truth Social, Instagram, Threads, whatever you want to share it on, that would get your video shared more, okay? Number two, when you increase the watch time of the video, then YouTube gets an indication that people are actually watching the whole thing and not just watching bits or pieces and jump cutting through everything in your video. So that is a good indication. The other thing you could do, okay, is you can leave very nice comments in the comments section below. And what that tells them is you were engaged, you watched, you replied, you really liked the content that you were watching, and that helps your ratings as well. So really what you really want to do if you want to increase, if you want to motivate YouTube to share your videos more often, watch the videos all the way through. Well, not you, but I mean your audience needs to watch the videos all the way through, increasing the watch time of every single one of your videos, or have them leave nice comments in the comment section below so that YouTube can see for themselves that, gee, this is a video we want to share all over the platform. And there you go. And another thing I need to mention real quick before we resume our video is that I have published 5 Kindle books. They're $5 a piece. If you want a copy of any of these Kindle books, just leave me a comment in the comment section below and I'll send you a hyperlink to my latest book, which you now can see on the screen. And then from there you can find my other 4 Kindle books, and there will be more Kindle books coming soon. It's all up to you. Buy them and let me know what you think about them. Alright, on to the video. Okay, so we're going to return back to the 1st century. Okay, and I'm sure you guys, if you know anything about biblical text, you know about the story of Jesus of Nazareth. Okay, matter of fact, yes, that is where the hard rock band Nazareth got their name. Okay, now, back in those days, mathematical experts like Euclid refused to cover the topic of negative numbers. Of course, but again, they didn't cover the topic of zero either, so there you go. After all, they used numbers to measure land and homes and other physical objects. Well, if you are measuring things, there is no such thing as a zero land, and there's definitely no such thing as a zero There's no negative land, there's no zero land. There you go. Why would they need numbers that didn't measure anything? Not practical. So they considered the topic to be absurd. But 700 years later, there was a mathematical genius, and I'm going to leave his name down here because I simply cannot pronounce it. He started a discussion about profit and debt. Now you needed negative numbers, okay? Debt was represented by negative stuff. So now they had a reason to cover negative numbers. So at this point we're going to be covering the topics of negative addition, negative subtraction, negative multiplication, and negative division. Now negative addition is pretty easy to understand. Basically you're going to have two add-ins. Okay? We're going to make the first one positive. And then we're going to make the second one negative. How do we solve that? That's easy. What we're going to do is we're going to change the plus sign to a minus sign. Change the plus sign to a minus sign. Alright. Now what if you had a situation where the first add-in is negative 5 and the second add-in is 3? Okay, we'll just reverse the numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to say 3 minus, okay, just minus 5. And 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Okay. Now, what would happen if both add-ins are negative? So let's say we have negative 5 plus negative 3. Well, negative 5 plus negative 3 is just going to be negative 8. Then, you don't have to say negative 5 minus 3 is negative 8. That's silly. Okay. Now, what about negative subtraction? Well, let's start with this problem, this subtraction problem, with a minuend. And it's positive. Now we're going to subtract a negative subtrahend. Okay? Now, if you do that, all you have to do is change this to a plus sign, remove that negative there, like that, and that makes 8. What happens if your minuend and your subtrahend are negative? Okay. So you have negative 12 minus negative 6. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to change this like this and get rid of that. So, now we have negative 12 plus 6 equaling negative 6. Just like that. Sounds simple enough, huh? But it gets worse. Okay. What about multiplication? Let's return to the mathematics of the guy that we had down below. he postulated that numbers multiplied he postulated that numbers that were multiplied were just numbers added to themselves a certain number of times. So, let's say you have 2 times 2. We already know that's going to be 4. Okay? So we have the multiplier 2 multiplied by the multiplicand 2, and it equals 4. Alright? Well, he also stated that 2 plus 2 equals 4, which of course is true. Now, he takes this one step further. He says, okay, well, what if you have 2 times 3? Times 3. We know that's 6. But according to him, you'd have 2 plus 2 plus 2, because you had 2 3 times. That made your 6. This led to a problem. What if you had 1 times 1 equals 1? Now, if we were to go strictly by this guy's math, then we could also say 1 plus 1 equals 1. Which, of course, right now we know that's not true. So what's the flaw? Well, so we're going to change these little instructions really quick. So again, we have 1 times 1 equals 1, which is true. Now we're going to have 1 plus 0 equals 1. That's how you change that. So it's 1 number of times. Okay? And then you'd have the correct answer. So how does this theory affect negative multiplication? Well, let's try another math problem. Again, we're going to have a multiplier, and it's going to be 2. Okay? Now, let's multiply that times negative 2. Well, what we're going to say now is 0 plus negative 2 plus negative 2 equals negative 4. Okay? So we're going to start out with 0, and we're going to add the negative 2 and the negative 2 together, because it's 2 times, and that's how you get your negative 4. And that's how he wanted. That's not how he wants you to think of it, but he wants you. Everybody else wants you to think that way too. Now, what if the multiplier and the multiplicand of the math problem? What if they're both negative? What's going to happen with the product? Well, let's take a long walk down the yellow brick road. Alright, first we're going to have a negative multiplier, then we're going to have a negative multiplicand. So, but let's visualize this multiplier a little more carefully. We can say, group this, negative 1 times 2, then times negative 2. So now we can say it like this. Okay? Because negative 1 times 2 actually gives you negative 2. So we're going to separate this out. But we already know that if you have numbers that are multiplied together like this, you can multiply them in any order. So now we're going to shift things over. We're going to have negative 1 times negative 1 times 2 times negative 2. Now, you'll love this. So we're going to take one step further. So now we got this. But this gets more fancy. Now what are we going to do? Hope you wrote all that stuff down. If you didn't, pause the video and write it all down. Now we already know that we have the negative 1 over here. Okay? Oops. And we have it multiplied by negative 4. Why? Because 0 plus negative 2 plus negative 2, of course, is negative 4. Well, negative 1 times negative 4 is going to be 4. But if you thought that was easy, oh boy, I got more for you. What happens if you have a division problem and either your divisor or dividend is negative? I regret to say that there's little documentation to indicate the history of division, especially when it comes to negative division. But the rules of multiplication can be used to solve these division problems. If either a divisor or dividend of a division problem is negative, then the quotient will automatically be negative. So if your divisor is negative, your quotient is going to be negative. If your dividend is negative, your quotient is going to be negative. And if the divisor and the dividend is negative, your quotient will be positive. Okay? And you can look this up in the article below. Okay? Alright. Well, I want to thank you very much for watching this particular presentation. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned.